The United States is launching enhanced counter-narcotics operations in the Western Hemisphere to protect the American people from the deadly scourge of illegal narcotics. We must not let the drug cartels exploit the pandemic to threaten American lives.
And they're not. President Trump unveiling a very interesting counter-terrorist counter-narcotics mission to fight the drug cartels exploiting the pandemic like they always exploit us to begin with. Here's a guy right now who knows firsthand the challenges of working the border and stopping the drug flow. Fox News contributor, retired ICE director Tom Homan, author of a brand new book, which is great. It's called Defend the Border and Save Lives, about his career in law enforcement. Tom Homan still giving back to the country with your knowledge, now to us. Congratulations on the book. What were you thinking yesterday when the president came out in the middle of a pandemic to say we're still watching the border, really concerned about the volume of drugs crossing the border?
I thought it was a great call. Look, he's letting the world know we're still going to be vigilant on that border. And it makes sense. The cartels, you know, I've said it many times in the show, Brian, when we had that surge of the family units, the cartels will send large groups of family units in one sector so they can move their drugs and the bad people to the other sector. There was a time when Border Patrol said 50 to 60% of Border Patrol agents were no longer on the border. Now, because the president has virtually stopped illegal immigration on the southern border because of this pandemic, they're going to switch to maritime, just like they did in the early 80s in Florida and the Keys. And they will smuggle through the Caribbean. They're going to make their money, so they got to find a way to do it.
Tom, in a way, they're doing at the border now what you've been wanting to do: crackdown, zero tolerance. Now it's just commerce that goes back and forth. That's Mark Morgan's job and Ken Cuccinelli's job. How does that change the drug cartels, I guess, calculus on when they should come across?
Well, look, as I said a minute ago, the Border Patrol is more vigilant now, right? Because they don't have hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants they're dealing with it every day, especially the family units. At the height of the family units, the Border Patrol is busy making meals, changing diapers, making hospital runs. But now the president has stopped illegal immigration, which was a great move to begin with. So now the Border Patrol can be more vigilant on the border. The cartels can't mask the smuggling between the ports of entries because they don't have these large groups tying up the Border Patrol. So that's why they're either going through cargo, which they've always done, but a lot of cargo gets intercepted because every car is stopped at a port of entry. But they're going to go to maritime, and that's what the president talked about yesterday. Intelligence clearly shows they're going to start going back to the Caribbean and smuggle maritime, and the Coast Guard is going to get a lot busier. But this president made a great move yesterday by putting them on notice. They're not going to get away with it.
Tom, in your book, you talk about your career and all the different facets of it, all in law enforcement, and you talk about your days in law enforcement as a cop in the NYPD. What's your thoughts now? We've lost at least 5 members of the NYPD to this coronavirus. So many are testing positive. We don't have enough PPE for the nurses and doctors, let alone the police officers. How do you tackle this challenge?
You know, it's hard, Brian, because I wrote an op-ed a few weeks ago talking about this. The men and women in blue, the first responders, whether it's the police officers, the ambulance drivers, Border Patrol agents, you know, these people are on the front line. They can't quarantine. They can't stay at home. They got a job to do to defend this nation. So once again, you know, they strap a gun to their hip every day and do this job, so their life's on the line every moment. But here, the danger has now increased because of this COVID. What's the answer? There is no answer. They're going to keep doing their job. If they get infected, of course, they're going to get sick and they'll deal with it. But they're not going to stop going to work because of this international crisis, this pandemic. They're going to keep going to work. They're going to leave their homes and their families every day to go to the job and possibly get infected and take that back to their families. This is why I dedicated this book to the men and women in law enforcement. These are American heroes or patriots, and what they're going through right now, every American in this country should salute them. It's incredible what these men and women do every day for this nation.
Yeah, and you know, I was talking to Jay Johnson, and he told me, and he was former Homeland Security Secretary under President Obama. You worked for so many different presidents. Now you're working for President Trump. But you're about the country, and that's what comes out in this book, Tom.
Yeah, you know, I spent the time writing this book because I want to educate the American people that illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. I can't explain this in a 4 or 5 minute Fox hit. I can't explain it when I testify in the Hill because I usually erupt into an argument. I want to explain to American people there's an underbelly to illegal immigration. Women be raped, women are being raped, children are dying, cartels are getting rich. But I do dedicate, there's one chapter in this book about President Trump because I worked for 6 presidents. But every president talks the talk, but this president has walked the walk, and he is a game changer. When it came to illegal immigration, President Trump was a game changer, and I explained that in this book. He's doing a terrific job on the border, and we need him for another 4 years.
Yeah, and 161 miles of wall are built. Tom Homan, thanks so much. Best of luck with the book. We'll talk to you about it again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.